Hi everyone, today I'll be going over chapters 3 through 5 of Reinventing Project-Based Learning, your field guide to real-world projects in the digital age by Susie Boss and Jane Krause. Chapter 3, titled Imagining the Possibilities. A basic chapter overview. In this chapter, they go over how to establish the conceptual framework of a project. So, starting off, it's important to establish the core concepts and processes in which students should know after completing a unit or a lesson. So it's really important to determine big ideas for curriculum. So what is the most important thing to be understood from this unit or lesson? And what do the students really need to grasp? It's important to know the key concepts and processes you want students to understand and to reflect on why they are important. So, knowing how they intersect with other disciplines is really key in this aspect, just because it makes it a little bit more meaningful. And then real-world concepts should be incorporated as they make information more valuable and more meaningful to students. When they're able to connect something that they're learning in class to the real world, they see more value in it than just, oh, well, I have to learn how to do this because that's something that we do in school. If they can connect it to the outside world, it's just a lot more meaningful. And then continuing for Chapter 3, it's important to plan for rigor in digital age skills. The project needs to help students develop important skills, attitudes, and habits of the mind. A good, well-planned project requires that students stretch their minds in ways that traditional assignments do not. So traditional pen and paper, just answering questions, is not going to have the same impact on a student's development for those important skills as a good project. And then you really want to make sure that you're incorporating Bloom's taxonomy, and using a project is a really great way to do that, especially with these three. These are more key for projects, so analyzing, evaluating, and creating. For analyzing, you want students to examine, investigate, compare, illustrate, etc. For evaluate, you want them to judge, decide, convince, assess, etc. And for create, you want them to combine, invent, design, and model, or more. You really want students to take their learning to that next level. And then continuing with Chapter 3, something that I really think is valuable, and I've actually taught my own students a lesson on this, is Carol Dweck's growth mindset concept. So helping students develop a growth mindset is really important. You have two mindsets. You have fixed mindset, which is people with a fixed mindset believe that intelligence and abilities are fixed and innate, like you're born with whatever smarts you're going to have. And then growth mindset is people with a growth mindset believe that intelligence and abilities can improve through hard work, practice, and dedication. This is where we want our students to be. It's important for teachers to help students develop a growth mindset. Projects can help students to feel as though they can understand a difficult topic, whereas if they're just answering questions using pen and paper, they might feel a little bit more in that fixed mindset area. Okay, Chapter 4, Strategies for Discovery. The chapter overview is how to design and select the best projects. This chapter discusses overcoming pitfalls. It's important to be aware of the quality of a project for students, so really understanding how are they going to benefit from this, not just for my class, but overall. Some possible pitfalls are that the project might be long on the activity but short on the learning. So you're spending a lot of time actually completing whatever the activity is, but not really learning much from it. Another pitfall would be technology layered over traditional practices. So something like researching a topic and then just presenting that information isn't going to be very meaningful. You want more into the project than just that. Trivial thematic unit, overly scripted with many steps, not enough focus on formative assessment, and then assessment that doesn't feel authentic. So those are some possible pitfalls. Chapter 4 continued is overcoming pitfalls. Okay, I think I might have messed up a little bit there, but we're going to continue. The best projects share some important features, so loosely designed with the possibility of different learning paths, center on a driving question or are otherwise structured for inquiry, realistic and therefore cross multiple disciplines, so we really want that interdisciplinary topic or concept really there in a project. Tap rich data or primary sources. Call for iterative work with cycles of feedback, reflection, and revision. And then digital age skills and literacy. So we want to focus on communication, project management, and technology. Chapter 5, making assessment meaningful. So brief overview of the chapter is that project-based learning should be personalized learning. Authentic assessment in project-based learning. Assessments created by teachers, parents, or the community are much stronger and more meaningful than standardized tests. Through project-based learning, students not only meet rigorous academic expectations, but they often exceed them. And there are two main purposes for assessment with project-based learning. So number one is that it measures student learning in a summative way, not just a formative way, but a summative way. And it evaluates the quality of the project so it can be better next time, like if you need to make any tweaks depending on what students really got from the project. And then we also have planning for summative assessment. You want to determine what your objectives are, how are you going to find evidence that students are learning, and what activities you're going to use. And then you want to develop project-specific rubrics. So in this rubric, you want it to reflect growth and desired skills and disposition, and also allows for expectations to be communicated to students. Typically, you'll give the rubric out ahead of time, and you'll have students, you'll go over it with students, and they will really know what you're looking for in the project, which is helpful. And then plan for formative assessment. You are probably going to want to have a project timeline, so you'll have check-ins, whether that's individual or maybe groups. You'll want to allow time to correct, redirect, and reteach. So during those check-ins, maybe let students know, hey, you should take a second look at this and see if you can do that a little bit better. And that'll be helpful for students. And then we have some information on selecting project assignments and performance tasks. So you want to make sure that you're blending old and new. You don't want to just use all old or all new. You want to find a good mixture of the two. You want to make sure that you're creating something new. You want to model real-world assessment. So this is where that meaningful aspect comes in. You want to make sure that it's applicable to the real world, or it's modeling something that could take place in the real world. Another way to make a project more meaningful would be to have students maybe enter a contest or submit something for publication, And then ask students, what did you learn? This is going to hold them accountable for what they have learned and also allow you to really determine if they learned those key learning goals that you really wanted them to hit. And then some assessment options and tools would be things like brainstorming, checklists, concept maps, exit slips, interest inventories, portfolios, project logs, and review protocols. So that concludes everything. I am going to go back to my second slide for chapter 4 and see if I can figure out what happened there, but I don't think it's going to allow me to.